Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. He joins us again. He's an award-winning author, and that's Larry Deiman. He's got 2 books out now. He's working on his 3rd book. The first one, Incident at the Historic Museum and Canyon Springs Wash Murders. The 3rd one is called...
You don't know yet.
Trying to squeak it out. I'm trying to get that out of you.
Yeah, I don't even have a title for it yet. You know, when I named the first 2 books, I actually had to write to the end of the book, both books, before I actually came up with a good title.
Wow. And Larry, great to have you back with us. And
thank you.
You're not at your kitchen table where you typically write your book. So where are you hiding out right now?
All right. Right now I'm hiding out at work. I've got a regular 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. And we have these focus rooms, they call them. So I kind of ducked into one of these focus rooms so I could talk to you on my personal laptop.
Gotcha. You know, it's interesting. I just had a thought with the focus groups. We should do a focus group of different scenarios for book number 3 and let people pick the direction they want to go in.
That's a great idea, because I'm having some trouble on where I want this to go. I know where the ending is going to go, but I got to get there. So I'm having a little bit of a challenge getting there right now. But, you know, it'll come to me. I mean, it always does.
I want to get into the 3rd book as much as you'll reveal. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
So to get
as much as I can reveal.
Well, you can tell us anything you want.
I know. It's just a matter of that, you know, I'm only on like 8 chapters, so I can't go too far. But I can tell you, I won't reveal the end of the book because for 2 reasons. I want you to write the book. Second, because I haven't really got to the end of the book yet. And what I have in mind right now is probably going to change by then. It always does.
Interesting. You know? So let's reset it for everybody. The books are about Jason and Trevor. These are 2 buddies. Get into all different types of situations. The first one started out with the incident at the historical museum, and is it Trevor that works for the FBI?
Trevor, yeah.
Okay.
Trevor works for the FBI, and that's actually his dream job. When Trevor was a boy, he was so excited about reading everything there was about spy books. So he went to work for a government agency, and now he's an FBI guy. It's not really being a spy, but I guess they don't call him that anymore. I don't know what they call him anymore, but he likes being a spy, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder what the correct terminology is. Espionage. I don't know, but
FBI field agents, really what they are. You know, so they're not really spies anymore. That's kind of went out with the old days, but he loves being an FBI field agent, and that's what he is.
What is Jason's occupation?
Jason runs a security company. See, when my first book was out, Jason just lost his career job as an operations manager for a security company. The owner of that company, a guy named Don Vernon, kind of basically screwed him. He didn't even talk to Jason about this. He just brought in someone to replace him and didn't even blink an eye. He said, "Well, this guy's in, you're out." That's pretty much how he put it. So Jason, you know, as the book begins, Jason starts out with really in a bad mood, really depressed because he just lost this job that he loved to do. And so Trevor helps him out and kind of hooks him up with a guy that's looking for in a security business. Jason is really all about security. That's what he knows. That's what he's done most of his adult life, ever since college. And he loves being in the security business. And that's what he does. That's when you get to around probably about the 10th chapter, 10th to 11th, 12th chapter, that's where he actually buys into a security company. And once he does that, a lot of things happen on that side of the process. And Jason kind of gets himself into some trouble.
I find it interesting that, you know, he's involved with a security company, and then his best bud is with the FBI. So they kind of, there's kind of a crossover there, right?
It really is. Kind of a vague crossover, but They both are kind of in the same business, although Jason does private security. So he would be like doing hiring security officers for a business, like after hours, like dealerships and things like that. So that's really the kind of business that Jason likes to do. He's got a staff of security officers, and that's what they do. He sends them out to different accounts and to basically do private security. He does escorts and things like that too, but that's his main business right there.
So you're at your other job right now, and right. Are you thinking or looking forward to getting back home and writing more?
Oh, yeah, I guess when I'm here, I kind of get these ideas in my head, so I kind of write them down, and send them home, like to my private email. And so yeah, when I get home, I'm probably gonna sit down for a couple of hours and write another chapter or two. I don't do it every day, but I have some really inspired ideas today. So I'm thinking, time to move forward on book 3, another couple of chapters maybe. And then I do this. When I was writing the first 2 books, I was doing the same thing. I would get these ideas and I'd write 2 or 3 chapters, and then I walk away from it for a few days, and then I come back to it. And it's almost like I get re-inspired every time I come back. And I'll write 2 or 3 chapters or even more. When I wrote Canyon Springs Lost Murders, it took me 6 months to write that book. But I had undivided attention for myself, because that was right after the pandemic started. So everybody was on lockdown, and you get tired of watching TV all the time and that kind of stuff. So I decided to write my second book. And to be honest with you, when I finished my first book, never had any intention of writing the second book. Then I got this idea, and now it's out there selling again, selling 2. So, and now I'm even on a 3rd book. So it's like, now I'm going to have a series of books, and I've even got ideas for a 4th, just main storylines that I've got ideas about.
Where do you get your greatest inspiration from? Is it from flipping on the TV? Is it you're just driving? Is it just random?
Just random, yeah. Like my biggest inspiration comes when I'm sleeping. It's crazy. Wow. I get these dreams about this crazy stuff, and it wakes me up. And I have my laptop right next to me, and I start typing away just notes to myself when I'm awake and ready to continue writing. I just kind of write my notes down, and that's how I came up with the ending of Canyon Springs Lost Murders. I was inspired while I was sleeping one night, and I almost never remember my dreams, but for some reason this stuck with me. And it's like, there's got to be a reason why this stuck with me. And it turned out really good. In fact, Canyon Springs Lost Murders has a much bigger surprise at the end than Infinite at the Historical Museum. Something that no one's going to expect. It's going to be a sitting on the edge of your seat type book. Both of them are great. You can't wait to see what's next. And Canyon Springs Lost Murders has a lot of action in it. Almost every chapter has action in it. It's crazy. It's just, I was inspired. I just kept on going.
Do you ever come up with a point where has it happened, or will it happen, or will you tell us, where Trevor and Jason don't see eye to eye and maybe they kind of break things off as friends for a little while?
Well, I've actually been thinking about that for book 3. Farther on down towards the end of the book, I'm thinking that they're going to have a huge disagreement about something. I don't know what yet, but they're going to have a big disagreement about something. So I want to kind of portray them in this series as best friends, but I also want to show that best friends don't always see eye to eye on things.
Sure.
So, and so I thought, and that's actually kind of cool that you brought that up, because one of my main thoughts was, I've got to get these guys at each other's throat at some point during book 3, but they have to reconcile.
Yeah.
And it may not be book 3 that they reconcile. It may be book 4 before they reconcile. It just depends on how badly I want to make them disagree. I haven't decided that yet. At some point, they're gonna be like this. At some point.
I don't know if I shared with you. I have a best friend. He, I could be Jason. He could be Trevor. We've been friends since high school, even the end of junior high, and we had we kind of floated apart because of a woman. It wasn't that we had it was a wife who didn't like the other, and yeah,
got it. Okay,
that would be my ex. And
okay, all right.
and there was let me even count here. Let's see, probably 5 years that we did not talk, he and I. And when I was getting divorced, I still remember the day calling him up. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? Hey, how you doing? And I said, I'm sitting in the Wendy's parking lot right around the corner from your house. Why don't you come on by? Let's talk. He's like, yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And then we just rekindle things. And then I'm talking, this is like 25 years ago.
Sure.
And we've still, and interestingly, this is not about me, but it's it brought a thought. Hey, maybe you could use it in your book. Interestingly, our relationships with our other halves, what happened from that point forward, mirrored each other just by coincidence. It's almost like we're going down the same path. The exes did the same exact thing, and it just happened that way. And we're there. We support each other. It's just like you and your friend.
Well, my friend, and I had a similar situation. It wasn't over a woman. Well, it was and it wasn't. One of the reasons why his ex-wife is the high-priced hooker in my first book is because we had a major falling out. And it probably took us a few years to get back together again. But it was because she didn't like me. She hated me. And she basically made him choose her or me.
Yeah. Yep.
And well, then he eventually divorced her, and it's kind of funny because I found him, his current wife. Just
Stop. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
All right.
So fascinating. Because my best friend, I found him his current girlfriend, and they've been together 5 years. And long story short, how weird. I work in radio, and I was on the air talking about my best friend getting divorced, and he doesn't want to do dating sites or anything. And this girl just emailed me. He sounds like a really nice guy. And I put the two of them together, and we're all good friends, and they've been together ever since, and at least 5 years now.
That's cool. That's really cool. I was actually working for him. He was running this security company. I was actually working for him, and I was kind of in charge of a detail at this ballroom, and it was like a Cambodian, and there were all these people there, and I thought should be perfect for my friend. So I called him up. I says, "Why don't you come over and do a spot check on us, and I'll introduce you to somebody." I did. They've been together ever since. That's probably been now.
How long now?
Well, about 12 years now.
Wow.
And they talk about it every once in a while that I'm the one that brought them together. And it's funny because when I first met her, she looked like a hooker, just the way she was. And that's where I got the idea to make his first wife or his ex-wife a high-priced hooker. I got that idea from that situation. It's interesting how things kind of come together.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm a firm believer in things don't happen by coincidence. There's a reason. Everything is all the puzzle, the pieces. It's a part of a plan. Yep. Whoever has the plan, whatever you want to believe in, it all kind of comes together at some point. And
I agree with that. I think that I believe that I'm destined to write these books.
Yep.
I really think that's this is going to be my calling. I mean, my plan is to retire from here at some point, and just write my books. And that's really what I want to do. I mean, 5 years ago, if you had asked me, does writing a book sound like something you'd like to do? And I would have said, oh, gosh, no, not a chance. I mean, and here I am. not even 5 years later, I've written 2 books, both of which are being sold by Amazon and Barnes and Noble. They're great books. Everybody loves them. And I'm on a 3rd book. I mean, I would never have guessed this. Nobody would have guessed this of me. And it's kind of funny because my friend, who is Jason, he's the guy that actually sparked the idea in me that I can probably do this, And he says, "You got to do this. You got to tell our story." So, I mean, he was really happy with the way the story ended, because it wasn't really our story. Our story started the book, and then it kind of went on from there. I mean, the book is fiction. It really is. There are factual events in the story, in both stories, that do portray one of us. But both books are completely fiction, and any similarities are coincidental. That's my story.
Isn't that a standard disclaimer?
Yes, it is. That's why I said that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. So let's look at it this way. If you were to look back at your 2 first books, mm-hmm. is there something now, as you look at them, that you would have done differently? Really?
I'm completely satisfied. I think that the first book ended just the way I wanted. Actually, it's kind of funny because my first book, when I ended that first book, I did have a different ending in mind. And I gave a twist at the end of the book just to kind of, and everybody who's read it has pretty much told me, "Hey, good job." I was completely surprised. It totally caught me off guard, and same thing with book 2. I mean, I did have a different ending for book 2. I mean, I think I told you last week that both books, I wrote the ending before I even got halfway through the book. But by the time I got to the end of the book, they changed. I had a completely different ending for Canyon Springs Wash Murders that is not in the book. I changed it entirely by the time I got to the book, because I want to carry that kind of torch throughout each of my books and have a twist at the end of the book. There are twists and turns throughout the book, but there's a major twist at the end of each book, and that's what I want to kind of maintain through all the books. I want there to be a big twist that the readers will see coming, and that's I figure that's what's going to keep them interested. I want people to be looking forward to the next book, waiting for the next shoe to drop, so to speak. And I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet for this book. But for book 1 and book 2, they were kind of, the endings were a surprise to me too, because I came up with them like at the last minute. I completely changed it at the last minute.
So that being said, for books 1 and 2, do you have an idea how 3 might end?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I do. I can't tell you. I do have an idea how the 3rd book is going to end. I kind of wrote that a while ago, but I haven't figured out how to put it in place yet. I've got to get to that point. And when I get to that point, I'm on what? Since last week, I think I've written 2 chapters. So I'm on like 9 now. And I've got a ways to go before I get to the end of the book. I mean, I'm on 9. I need to put at least 24, 25 chapters, in order to get to the end of the book. So by the time I get to the end of the 3rd book, I probably will have that changed. But the ending I have right now is going to kind of fall in line with the kind of surprise that I've been doing on the other 2 books. So I'm probably going to find a way to make that work as I write to that chapter, And then, of course, the epilogue will be the preamble to the next book.
So as you're writing book 3, do you let anybody see it? Do you get any feedback along the way? Oh, this is essentially top secret.
Definitely a top secret project. Yes. Nobody sees my book until I've completely finished writing it, and it's gone to publication. So the idea behind that is that I don't want anybody to come back to me and say, "Well, you change this, you could have changed that, or it's like when I write my book, by the time I get to the end of the book, I haven't read the whole book yet. Okay, so when I get to the end of the book and I think I'm done, then I go back and I read the whole book. You know, I mean, I've read this chapter, this chapter to kind of refresh my memory as to where I was at with a storyline. But I don't actually read the whole book until I'm done writing it. So I go back and then I make changes on the way because I may not be happy with something that I put in a chapter that I could have changed or made it more exciting or whatever. I come up with ideas along the way as I'm reading it, thinking, no, I could have gone this direction. You know, I could have done this instead of this. You know, I did that with Canyon Springs Wash Murders. Museum at the, or isn't at the historical museum. I pretty much was satisfied with that by the time I got to the end of it. I read the whole book for the first time. I was happy with that. Canyon Springs Wash Murders, I did change a couple of things. A couple of people died. You know, I made a couple of changes that would add a little action to a couple of chapters that didn't have a lot of action at first. You know, in book 2, it's almost all action, and there's always something going on. And the people who have read that book have said the same thing that they said about book 1, that they're sitting at the edge of their seat wondering what's going to happen next. You know, and I've got, you know, I've got 2 storylines in book 2 as well. You know, the main storyline is Canyon Springs, Canyon Springs, Texas. That's the main draw. That's the main storyline. But you got to have something else besides that. It can't be all over the same storyline. People get bored by the end of the books. I want people to experience other things that are going on that are not related to the main storyline. You know?
So we're talking with award-winning author Larry Deiman, and he's got 2 great books out, working on the 3rd one. If you want to check out the website to learn more, trevorsadventure.com. So with the 3rd book, without giving up too much, can you tell us where it's mostly centered, be it a physical location or a geographical location?
Geographical, yes.
Okay.
I would say this is going to be more the whole United States. I mean, I can say that towards the first part of the book, for reasons I can't really reveal, the U.S. government is closing off the Mexican-American borders.
Okay.
Because we want the storyline to stay in the U.S. But at some point, there's going to be something going on at the border. And I already have an idea what that's going to be. Not going to reveal it, but I do have an idea what that's going to be. And we'll see how I get to that. But somewhere along the line, the 2 storylines are going to come together in book 3. And when they do, something is going to happen. I'm just thinking right now that it might be the Mexican-American border. But I don't know where in the Mexican-American border it's going to be. It could be Nogales. It could be Tijuana. You know, it's going to be somewhere.
Could be at a hotel with another high-price hooker.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the fun part about being an author. Like, you could just do whatever works, however you want to do it. You know, you have the empty canvas. You can add whatever you want to add, take away, and that's, I would think, as an author, so gratifying. Just feel so.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, because when I started writing book 1, as I think I mentioned in previous interviews, that I fashioned Trevor. Trevor's life is not me, or not what I've done. It's more what I've wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Trevor is doing things that I would never have done in real life. But see, what's nice about when you're writing a book, when you're an author, like you said, the canvas is blank. I can do what I want, you know, and I've got Trevor doing things that I would not have done personally. But I guess you could say I'm living vicariously through Trevor.
As is the reader, because I'm sure they're, hey, listen, I would love to do those things too. Maybe not the high price hooker, but hey, you never know. Not going to happen, but vicariously through. And I think that's why we watch TV. We read books. You know, we
watch movies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's why I think that these books would be perfect as a big screen, because there's so much potential there.
Yeah.
Where people can actually feel themselves in these parts. When I read the books for the first time, that's exactly how I felt. That I'm living this part, and I can picture in my mind this on the screen, you know, as a movie in my head, you know, and it's that's how I visualize it as I'm reading it after, and it just kind of fell into place when I got into the second book. And when I got to the second book, granted, the second book is probably 95% fiction. There's a little truth in there somewhere, but 95% of book 2 is fiction, and it's all completely out of my head, you know. But he's doing things. Trevor's doing things that I could never see myself doing, because I took the safe road when I was his age. I mean, he's in his early 30s. You guys are in the early 30s, so I'm twice that now. And back when I was 30, I couldn't see myself doing the things that he's doing. Mm-hmm. But I took the safe road. I got a career job, and I did this, you know, and I stuck to that, because that's what I learned from my dad. My dad was in a career job too.
Sure. Yep.
You know? So you kind of learn you move forward with what you already know. And I already know that's the way to get to the end of the road for you. You know, I do what my dad did. 35 years at the same company. Take my mom on adventures. That's exactly what he did.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I saw myself doing. You know, working this career job, but there are things that I wanted to do that I was too afraid to do.
Yep. Same exact here. Although I will say that there are little pieces here and there that I wouldn't share with my son.
I hear you.
We'll have those, right? Yeah. We're just about out of time. And they're telling us that we got to wrap it. And I don't have if rockets by, I look and it's like, oh, we have 15 minutes left. And I look again, it's like, no, we don't.
We're almost done. Yeah. Like I can tell you one thing before we close, is that back when I was his age, I had an opportunity. Somebody presented me with an opportunity to get on the ground floor of this great company. Now, back in those days, .com companies were a dime a dozen, and most of them were just by 50 years. But I had the perfect opportunity, and I passed on it because it was something that I just didn't want to take the chance on.
Yep.
Right? Well, they call that company today Intel. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, I don't think I would kick myself in the butt for that a few times.
Yeah, and guess what? I'm going to admit the same exact thing, because I remember my friend Greg. He was, a computer geek, and we're talking the year was 1984, and he had his computer, and was like, "This is great." I'm like, let's go outside and shoot the BB gun or whatever, and which is what we did. And then sure enough, I, pushed it away, and it was 10 years later when I got my first computer, but he was already on, his Commodore 64. And I just, what are you doing? What are you wasting your time for?
Yeah. Well, look at this.
We were both wrong.
Yeah. Look at technology today, I mean, Intel is one of the biggest computers out there.
Absolutely.
Wired, and it's like, you're living and learn. That's why Trevor does the things that he does, because I'm living vicariously through him.
Yep.
So what he does is what I would have liked to take the chances on when I was his age. But now I'm old, and trust me, I'm not interested in doing that now. But I can write about it.
Well, you can go there by way of a keyboard and a laptop.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Powered by Intel, but
powered by Intel. Exactly.
Check it out.
That's why Trevor and Jason do what they do.
TrevorsAdventure.com. And Larry Deiman, great talking with you, and looking forward to catching up again and see how we progress with the third book.
Yeah. Well, I'll have probably another couple of chapters at least by next Wednesday for sure.
Awesome. All right. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you then.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Take care.
Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.